The deck that I'm about to show you is the most fun that I have ever had playing Universus, so much so that after 6 months of not making a video, I've decided to turn the camera on and I just had to show you. The attack strings that you're capable of doing on as early as turn 2 are just incredibly silly and also very fun at the same time. So the deck is based around the character Benimaru, coming out I think 1 week from today actually in the King of Fighters Challenger decks. I just have a proxy here, that's why it looks... You got the note corners missing there, but I did my best because we were playing with some locals and we were all proxying the cards and getting ready for Worlds. So Benimaru is a 7-hander, 22 health. You get to add a foundation from your stage to your momentum, and then it gets your attack gets minus X speed. X equals the printed difficulty of the added foundation. So if you're doing this on your turn and you add a face down, then you lost no speed. But if you added a 1 diff or 2 diff, then you'd lose some speed. But if you use it on your rival's turn, then you get a little bit of defense. And I love aggro characters that have a little bit of defense on face just in case. And then you also get this bottom enhance. Your attack gets +1 to its powerful rating or gains powerful 2. So we can give anything, even like a throw, powerful 2, or our already great moves like walk the dog just went from powerful 3 to powerful 4, and we'll always have the momentum to just make these slam dunk attacks. Now, when I started deck building the character, the attack that immediately came to mind is Ultimate Combination. Ultimate Combination is a broken attack that has never been truly broken, I would say, by a deck strategy because it requires a lot of foundations to be in your momentum. It has this bottom enhance, or top enhance, build all foundations discarded to pay the cost of this attack's powerful ability. So if we're stashing away foundations in our momentum, then Ultimate Combination is going to allow us to rebuild an entirely new, fresh, neat, and nice stage. And then it also gets a little bit of speed for your foundations in your stage, and then it has powerful 4, which Benny, of course, is going to make powerful 5. So effectively, Ultimate Combination is going to get, let's say it gets 3 speed, now it's a 7 high. We dump like 4 momentum into it. Now it's a 7 high for 27 that built you 4 foundations and gave you all the effects of those foundations. So this is an incredibly silly card and broken card, and Benny can break the broken card. So how can we break Ultimate Combination to the maximum amount? And that was my question as I went searching for foundations. Effectively, Ultimate Combination allows us to ready face downs and unflip them, right? If we're taking these committed face downs, putting them in a momentum, and then rebuilding them, it's as if we readied and unflipped those face downs. So what are the best foundations that we can be looping with Ultimate Combination? And my one is actually a recent one from Guilty Gear, Walking Fortress. This is a foundation that I really liked upon reveal, but it was difficult to find a deck that truly broke it. And this goes hand in hand with Ultimate Combination. It says sacrifice, choose one. If you've added 2 or more cards to your momentum this turn, choose both. Your next check to play a card gets +3, or build 1 card from your discard pile face down. Now notice with Benny, it's incredibly easy to always add 2 momentum. And so we'll always get the benefit of both of these. And the sacrifice is a cost. So effectively what we can do with Walking Fortress is we can sacrifice it for +3 to the check, and then we're going to rebuild it because we get to build a card from our discard pile face down, and this sacrifices cost, so we can just rebuild into our stage. And then we're going to Benny, put it into our momentum, and then we're going to Ultimate Combination, build it, and it comes back face up. So we just gave a free +3 to our check, and then looped the Walking Fortress back into our stage, and we can give another +3 to our check on our next attack. And if we have another Ultimate Combination, then we can just do it again. And as many Ultimate Combinations as we have, we're always getting +3 to our check, effectively meaning we cannot fail our attacks as we go on a crazy attack string. And that is the main downside of Ultimate Combination, is that it's 6 difficulty. So with the benefit of the Walking Fortress check hacks, we can play Ultimate Combinations with no sweat very late into an attack string. We can also do some other funny stuff in Benny, like if we really needed an attack, for example, we could build like an attack face down and put it into our momentum, and then find a way to take that momentum back into our hand with some other ability. We could go and find, like if we needed a Shortcake Admirer or a Daily Training, we could build that face down instead of the Walking Fortress, and then loop that with Ultimate Combination. Walking Fortress is just the ultimate tech piece. It's hey, grab any card from your discard pile, put it into your momentum, and then loop it with ultimate combination. Most of the time, though, you just want to loop your walking fortresses. Okay, the next best thing that you can be looping is daily training. So I've got 4x daily training. It says flip, build one foundation from your hand with printed difficulty 3 or less. So we can just be building in very powerful foundations like Walking Fortress. We can play a high ratio of 3 difficulty foundations because we always want to be using daily training to cheat them in. And then we can send our daily training to our momentum, rebuild it with ultimate combination, and rebuild something from our hand. Daily training effectively says that you can take your turn 3 on turn 2, right? If we build a daily training on turn 1, then on our turn 2, we can build a 3 diff from our hand. We can then loop both with ultimate combination, build another something from our hand, and pretty soon we've built all the foundations from our hand while we're going on an attack string on turn 2. So the benefit of daily training is that it allows you to take your turn 3 on turn 2. It gets you there a little faster. You know, like if you were a patient deck, daily training wouldn't be that great because you could just build those foundations and then you would just have them for turn 3. But we want to be an aggro deck. We want to be as consistent as possible at killing on turn 2. So with this Walking Fortress check hack and this daily training building down your hand and then being able to loop both, I wanted to really break the check hacking system in Benimaru so that we could just play all of our attacks on a crazy attack string. Okay, so we've also got cards like Inspiring Song. I mean, 1 difficulty flip for +1 to your check, and it checks a 6, and we can, of course, loop this with ultimate combination if it was flipped face down. But then we also have cards like City Rampage. I think that City Rampage is truly unlocked in aggro 7-handers as compared to 6-handers. You get to get +2 to your checks for the rest of the turn to play 5 difficulty or higher attacks, and then you get +1/+1. That helps a little bit on the speed, but the main thing is just the check hacking. We want to reach a maximum amount of check hacking to where there's no possible way we can fail our checks, even if we're playing against a character like Mark Tyner. So we also have an attack like 16 Instant Slashes that says, first enhance, this attack is +1/+1 for each of your momentum. So if we want it to be big, we can use that. Or this bottom first enhance, your next check to play an attack, it's +X. X equals your momentum. Now, it should be noted that when it says +X, X equals your momentum, the game state checks your momentum at the time you make the check. So if you add cards to you can play that enhance and then use Benimaru's enhance to add momentum, and that will still count towards your check bonus. So if you have like 5 momentum, then you can say, hey, +5 to my check. So if you went like City Rampage into a 16 Instant Slashes and you had 5 momentum, now you're getting +7 to your check. You cannot fail that ultimate combination, and then you can just build everything back in. And once you start getting the ultimate combinations and the Walking Fortresses, you just can't fail anything from there on out, and you're just going to go crazy. Okay, then we want to have as many foundations as possible in our momentum. So we'd like to generate momentum very, very quickly. And that's going to come from Strategic Meeting. This 3 difficulty, we can flip, look at the top card of our deck, put it in our momentum. If it's something with 3 or more keywords, we can put it into our hand. Well, what has 3 or more keywords? Ultimate combination has 3 keywords. So if we find an ultimate combination that way, we can put it into our hand. Walk the Dog has 3 keywords. A couple of these other attacks, but mainly you're just using it to stash a foundation into your momentum that you can then loop in with ultimate combination. We're also going to get Determined Advance to add in a card to our momentum, and it has that EX3. It's kind of nice that we can Benimaru give this powerful 2 and then just EX it to the moon when we need. And we also get support from the Female Titan. This is going to be some necessary draw in the deck. After this card resolves, if you have a momentum, then you get another momentum off the top of your deck, plus you get to draw a card. So we're generating more possible foundations in our momentum to build, plus we're getting the benefit of draw. Walk the Dog is the other draw engine in the deck. You know, hey, this is standard. It's going to be everywhere. If you're on Walk the Dog symbols, you should probably be playing Walk the Dog, but Benimaru just unlocks this card even more by giving it powerful 4 and making it a crazy, crazy finishing move. Then you're also going to get Kraken. You need to have some sort of point and click stage interaction in your aggro character to get around, you know, their moment of normalcy or whatever they have in their stage that's going to mess you up. You've got your Kraken. And then truly the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, is Ascend to Battle. I've got 2x Ascend to Battle. I love this attack. It doesn't need momentum to get big. That's the downside, is that You're spending your momentum into ultimate combination to rebuild. But your opponent, once they figure out the deck, they're going to have a high block for your ultimate combination. And then you can have a second finisher and walk the dog. But typically between those two, that's everything you're spending momentum on. And then these other attacks, while they're decently well statted, they're not extremely scary. Like, yes, 16 instant slashes. If we don't need the check hacking, we could give it the +1/+1 for each of our momentum. So it could be that. That's why this used to be swarming, because swarming gave a little bit more to your check bonus. But I started realizing that I didn't need the more to my check bonus. I needed it desperately sometimes, but other times I much rather would have the stats, and I liked that duality, the choice that 16 instant slashes gives you. So that's why 16 is in the deck over swarming. But back to Ascend to Battle. This attack goes crazy because, again, once you start looping the Walking Fortress, you get all these check bonuses, you place 16 instant slashes into something, you cannot fail your checks. This is the perfect finisher. 5 high, this attack gets +X damage, X equals the printed speed of all the attacks in your card pool. Well, most of these attacks have pretty high speed. You know, we got 6 base here, 4 base here, 5, 4, 6, 5. So your Ascend to Battle very quickly gets to 15, 20 plus damage. So now you're sending a 20 plus damage ultimate combination, 20 plus damage Ascend to Battle, 20 plus damage Walk the Dog. You're doing all of this on turn 2, by the way. Plus 4 or 5 other attacks. I mean, the attack strings you go on are crazy. And then this is the foundation that truly unlocked this deck in testing for me. And it's Shortcake Admirer. You notice I'm playing this unique foundation at a 3x. It says remove, spend a momentum, add a high attack from your card pool to your hand. Okay, so we're going to add the ultimate combination back to our hand and play ultimate combination again and rebuild our stage. This just goes so crazy. I had a turn 2 the other day where I played 4 ultimate combinations because I had to. I used a Shortcake, I played them. I used a Shortcake Admirer to pick one up. I then used a daily training to build my other Shortcake Admirer. So I got to use 2 Shortcake Admirers in the same turn because of daily training. That's just silly. And pick up another ultimate combination. I've had games where I've played like an Ascend to Battle 3 times over using Shortcake Admirer. This foundation really unlocks the deck. You will always have the momentum for it, thanks to Benny, and picking up your, as you know, every single time you're picking up your ultimate foundation, you're effectively resetting your entire stage face up. Everything to use again. So when you use your ultimate combination, I mean, you're rebuilding in your strategic meeting, you're rebuilding in your daily training, rebuilding in your Walking Fortress, rebuilding in your draws with your fearsome transformations if you need, rebuilding in your inspiring songs. It just goes silly. Now this deck, in order to fully get the damage output on turn 2, you really do need to see your daily trainings here pretty early. So I do have a copy of Team Hero in here. Again, this comes out next week in the King of Fighters Challenger deck, so this is a proxy card. But it says that you can remove it and build a foundation with difficulty 4 or less from your discard pile. So if we have a daily training in our discard pile, we can go and build our daily training. If we need a Walking Fortress, let's go and get that. This is a really, really great piece. I had it at a 2 or 3x early. I took it down to a 1. The reason being is that this is such a turn 2 deck that your discard pile typically isn't very full as early as turn 2. And plus it can't pass those very, very early on checks before you use it. Okay, now you might have noticed by now that this deck is extremely reliant on ultimate combination. What if they just filled without our ultimate combination? Or use any number of other responses to mess us all up, right? That is where Incredible Display is. We don't want them Genkai's Guidancing our ultimate combination filled with doubt. And so Incredible Display is going to cancel a lot of that interaction because we can commit it, discard a momentum, and cancel their response. This can also be used to pick up a foundation, but primarily we're 3xing it because there's all sorts of responses that we want to knock out of the way with Incredible Display. Also in Guilty Gear, there was this tension mechanic introduced where you got Roman cancels in your momentum, and then Roman cancels can take your damage down to 3 at the damage step without being able to block. So this can get around your Roman cancels. There's so many things for Incredible Display that I started with this out of the list and just in the sideboard, and then I very quickly realized almost every single game there's a target for it, and you can always cite it out if it's not needed. Then from there, we've got Master's Pride, maybe one of the best 0 difficulties that's still in the game. When we add a card from our momentum, we get to ready. Master's Pride, effectively another way to check hack. Also has some nice deadlock on there. We have 2x Monster Aggression. Everything's 5 difficulty or more, so we can sack a foundation for +1/+1 to our attack. We've got 1x Finding Your Own Way. This is another Finding Your One Way? Find Your One Way. Okay, there you go. sacrifice your next check to play a card gets +1 for each card in your momentum. It's just another way to get that check hack. I started with this at a 3 or 4x, and then I very quickly realized that there was so much check hacking in the deck that I really didn't need it at a 4x, and I'd rather have the incredible displays. Then our last foundation we have here is just Undercover Infiltration. Basically, the only reason this is in the deck is for the Deadlock. It's the best Deadlock in the game. Deadlock is now allowed because Unyielding Destruction is gone. And when somebody goes into Deadlock and you have an Undercover Infiltration, you win the game. Also, this Deadlock can be looped with Undercover Infiltration. So if they don't get out of Deadlock, you can use it, put in your momentum, rebuild it, use it again. You just got to selectively commit 4 of your rival foundations. So that is the deck in a nutshell. Just talking about it, it's really, really hard to kind of put it all together. So I'm going to shuffle these cards up and show you a goldfished turn 2 hand, and you can kind of see how the cards interact with each other. Because if you just play this list, your first couple games, you're going to do really poorly with it. I'm just giving you a heads up. It ends up being pretty complicated in knowing the lines, knowing what to put into your momentum, when to go for it, when not to, and the order that you play your attacks, what's most important at any given time, how to stay alive as Benimaru. You know, you have to know when to back off. You have a little bit of defense on face. You'll notice we're playing 0 defense in this board because we're trying to be as consistently turn 2 or turn 3 aggro as humanly possible. And we get a little bit of defense on face. So you have to learn when to back off the attacks and switch to defense. There's a sneaky, very high skill floor to this deck. So you can't just pick it up and immediately do well. I would say give it, 3 or 4 rounds, and then you'll start to see the lines a lot more clear. So I'm going to shuffle these up and show you guys a turn 2. Okay, so we have our deck ready here just to goldfish a turn 2. In my turn 2 hypotheticals, I'm always going first because I win all of those dice rolls. I do think that this character does pretty well going second because you can get a really, really consistent turn 1 build. I do have a pretty high attack ratio as it is in this deck, so sometimes turn 1's going first, you can get stuck with a less than ideal build. Let's see what we pulled here. Okay, we got 4 foundations, so we're good to go. A daily training, we like this even more. Let's see what happens. Strategic meeting, daily training. I think I would prioritize Fearsome here over Inspiring Song. I could see it go both ways. On a 4, we check a 3 on here. So a build 3, but not the worst because we do have daily training and we have an ultimate in our hand, so we can loop whatever it is that we find. Let's see what we rip here. Shortcake, 16, Walk the Dog, Walking Fortress. Okay, so Walking Fortress is going to unlock everything here with the daily training. Let's go ahead and strategic meeting first and see what we can find. We find another strategic meeting. Okay, so we can loop that back in. Let's go for the City Rampage. The only thing that can really go wrong here is checking double 3s. If we check a 3 here on the City Rampage, we're just going to do our turn a little bit differently. I don't think it's the end of the world. We check a 5. Okay, everything is off to the races. That means we play the Determined Advance next. We're on a 7. Nice. We check a 7. Okay, let's blitz, add the top card of our deck to our momentum. We're adding a City Rampage to our momentum. We would have rather had that be a foundation, but what can you do? We already have a pretty good start here. First enhance, I'm going to go ahead and use Fearsome Transformations to draw. We draw into a Kraken, not too bad there. I'm going to go ahead and daily training down this Walking Fortress so that we can get +3 to our check. From here, I think I'm probably going to play 16 Instant Slashes into Ultimate Combination, and then I can start looping this. I don't think I'm too worried here about playing that Walking Fortress here now, although I guess I could. Let's go ahead and see what happens. On a 5, 6, 7, we check a 6. Let's go ahead and add in, I think here we're going to do daily training. So let's commit our daily training. First enhance, our next check gets +X for our momentum. Let's add this daily training into our momentum. So now we're going to be getting +3, +2 because it checks for the bonus at the time that you make the check. So we don't even need to use this Walking Fortress here quite yet. Let's go ahead and save it for a little bit. Then let's go on a 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to check a 3. I mean, this is a 10, so we're just good to go. From this Ultimate Fortress, we don't have anything. I mean, we could add this Fearsome, or we could loop this Strategic. what would be the best way to do it? I think we still probably just want the walking fortress. So let's say destroy, rebuild. Since we've added to our momentum, we have +3 to our next check. Let's add this to our momentum. Let's give it +1 to the powerful. Let's say that we can build whatever we want from here. You're probably going to want to ask your judge whether you call that enhance before or after you spend the momentum, because I always get confused. Different people tell me different things. What can you do? Let's look at our momentum here. That's +5, that's +10, that's +15 damage. Let's keep the City Rampage in there for later. So now this is a 23 damage ultimate combination. Let's say daily training. Let's build in this shortcake. This is 6 foundations, so we're going to get +2 speed. This is now a 7 speed, 23 damage move. Let's go ahead and say, we already said +3 to our check, so we can just save that for later. After this move, let's go ahead and use this strategic meeting and see what we can find. We find an ultimate combination. Sick. Let's just put this into our hand, right? We don't have to put that into our momentum. So we have +5 to our next check. What are we going to play? I guess we just play... I don't think we get silly with it. Let's just go on a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with +5 to our check. We check an 8. Not the end of the world. Let's do this strategic meeting and fearsome transformation. Then what we're going to do is put this strategic meeting into our momentum. We're going to say that we get to build +1 to the powerful rating, whatever. Build back in the strategic meeting. Now it's +5 damage. Now this is a 13 damage ultimate combination. Let's go ahead and do the walking fortress thing for +3 to our next check. Let's use shortcake admirer, discard this. Let's pull back up this ultimate combination. Okay, so now after this one resolves, let's go ahead and use strategic and see what we find. Off the top, we find a Master's Pride. That's going to come in handy. We have +5 to our next check. Probably don't have to get too crazy with it. We could maybe play... No, we're just going to go for another ultimate combination. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We check a 8 again. That's 2, 3 checks in a row on ultimate combinations very far into our string, and it's not even going to matter here. Let's commit this one. Let's commit this one. We're going to throw this walking fortress into our momentum. We're going to say +1 to the powerful, whatever that we can build. We're going to build these 2 in. We're going to say +3 to our next check. That's a 18 damage ultimate combination coming at you for 7 speed again. Now let's go for the walk the dog on a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's on a 9. We check a 10. Good to go there. Let's draw one. Let's add one to our momentum. Go ahead and add this one. Let's say powerful 4, powerful 4. That one up. Now we still have +2 to our check. Let's go for a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We check a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We got a Kraken coming in here. Let's go ahead and add one to our momentum. Let's respond and ready. Let's go ahead and give it powerful 2. Let's say +2 damage. This is a 9 damage Kraken. Geez, my camera just broke from that attack string right there. Let's wait for it to come back. But there you go. That's a turn 2. All right. What's going on with the camera? Okay, it's coming back. But there you go. That was turn 2. So we built 3 foundations going first, right? 3 foundations. It wasn't the best. We checked several 3s throughout this attack string. We played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus an ultimate combination twice. We played 7 attacks. And 4 of them were for like 15 plus damage. Not many people are living that. Not many people are not just getting exploded with that kind of a turn 2. So this is absolutely a deck that you should probably be preparing for at Worlds. I don't think people are going to be on my specific Benny list. I think that this is a pretty highly tuned list. It's an ultra aggro list. I've probably played 50 plus, maybe 100 plus games on it. It's done very, very well for me. It does struggle against like Rodan and those super heavy control decks. I think it does pretty well against like Mark if you're able to find your 16 instant slashes, because this is going to say, hey, you can check hack this one, But when I give +5, +6 to my next check, I'm going to be playing my ultimate combination. And as soon as I resolve an ultimate combination and build in 5-6 foundations, your check hacks, Mark Tyner, don't matter. I'm off to the races. So as long as you find this and like an ultimate combination, you're okay there. Yeah, it is going to struggle against those decks that are really, really able to block. But against those other aggro characters, I think that this is a little bit more tuned of an aggro list. And when it's aggro versus aggro, the winning list is typically the one that's faster. So I haven't tested this a ton into Mikasa 4 yet, but I would imagine that it's actually not a terrible matchup because I think you could count to 35 pretty easily. I think on that attack string that we just showed, we probably counted to 100. Mikasa 4 is not really doing that much blocking on turn 2. So really, really tuned aggro list. Probably something to be prepared for. Do I think that this list could like win Worlds? No, I don't. I don't think that it's a S tier deck. I think it's like an A- tier deck. Like you could go to day 1 and maybe make day 2. Maybe day 2 you could actually make day 3. I don't think you're going to be getting to top 4 with Benny, but I would love to be proven wrong. And if I was going to Worlds, I'm not going to Worlds. Sorry guys, you won't see me there. I'm hoping to be at the Chicago Regional in April, but I won't be at Worlds. If I was going, I think there was a high likelihood I would be playing something like this simply because I know that I'm going to have a ripping fun time for the entire weekend. But that's going to do it for this deck profile. Reminder, in 1 week, King of Fighters drops, and you can go and get Benimaru and create whatever sort of crazy strategy that you want. You know, this ultimate combination version is going to rotate very, very quickly when Godzilla drops. But this guy's got all sorts of sauce. There's all sorts of other deck builds I'm sure that you could find out there or that you could think up. So that is going to do it for this deck profile, guys. I'll see you guys next time.